Saturday of October.
Damien Harris bounces off a tackle.
Damien Harris to the right of his quarterback. On the give, Damien up the middle. Touchdown, Alabama. 12 yards right up the pipe.
And it's Damien Harris blasting his way into the checkerboard. They just don't have what Alabama has.
The third Saturday in October. Y'all know what this means, right? The Tide versus the Vols, and Damien, a part of the Crimson Tide streak that included 15 straight against Tennessee from 2007 to 2021.
That ain't no rivalry.
Domination.
Straight ain't no rivalry.
Domination,
Things have been
DJ.
rocky the past 3 years with Tennessee winning 2 of 3. So, Damien, give us your on-the-field memories of the rivalry, and then tell us what are you focused on in this game.
So when I think of Alabama-Tennessee rivalry, I think of two things. First and foremost, around the same time every year, Nick Saban always told us as players, they're going to ask you 3 things when you leave here. Did you leave with your degree? Did you win a national championship? And how many times, not if, how many times did you beat the University of Tennessee? That is my fondest memory. My second, and it might be tied with the first, is, you know, when you walk into Neyland Stadium and the crowd is all hype and you see the white and orange checkerboard all across the stadium in the stands, and then it's the second quarter, and then all of a sudden you start to see the cigar smoke start to plow and pillow throughout and cloud throughout the stadium. The next thing you know, that orange and white checkerboard starts to look a little bit more crimson. And then by the third quarter, you got the fans singing Dixieland Delight. You've got fans lighting up the cigars. You've got fans almost on the field, and all you see is all that orange and white, all that spirit, all that Tennessee pride, just walking, finding the nearest exit they can find. That is what I remember about the third Saturday in October. Now, when I look at this game in present time in 2025, what am I looking at here? 2 very well-powered offenses. I'm going to start with Alabama. You look at what Ty Simpson has done. He has been absolutely surgical, precise with dissecting secondaries and defenses. Then you add Jam Miller. You see the explosiveness that this offense has with a complementary run game. Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton have stepped up and become true wide receiver 1A and 1B in the absence of Ryan Williams. And that is my biggest question mark for Alabama. How good are you going to be when Ryan Williams starts playing like we know Ryan Williams is capable of? Listen, he's been quiet this year, to say the least. He's been very, very quiet. And Alabama has still been the most consistent, most progressive team from week 1 to where we are now. Now, BJ, I'm going to just ask you, what does this Alabama team look like when Ryan Williams starts to play like that alpha, like how Jeremiah Smith plays every single week at Ohio State?
When he stops with the dropsies, yeah, they might be unstoppable. I can't believe he's dropping all the passes he's been dropping thus far this season.
He has, and I had even made a point of it because when you talk about Alabama's standard, when you talk about the expectation, when you talk about what Alabama fans want to see on Saturdays, go back to the Wisconsin game where Ryan Williams went for 165 and 3 touchdowns. Because I'll tell you something, BJ, he could have went for 200 and 4 touchdowns, but he dropped a pass. So, again, they won the game. He played phenomenal. All things considered, you can all be better. Ryan Williams, you can be so much better. And the team, the offense, the way that they're going to be better when you become that alpha, we're just waiting to see it. And once it happens, it might happen this weekend. And if it does, whoo, Tennessee, look out.
Well, like an Alabama public service announcement.
He really does.
Hey, I'm running for office. I'm running for office.
But Damien, the unit for Alabama that's really stepped up has been the defense. And they've really played well over the last few weeks. 5-game winning streak. The defense has held teams to 19 points a game during that stretch. Bama's top 3 in the country right now in turnover margin. Their defensive coordinator, Kane Womack, who was a former head coach at South Alabama, left that head coaching job to become the D coordinator, I thought has really put together a nice team, moved some pieces around on defense, and has his guys flying around at a high level. It's going to be a tall test for Tennessee.
Yeah, they're going up against a quarterback in Joey Aguilar to transfer from App State, UCLA, now Tennessee, who's actually leading the SEC in passing yards, almost 1,700 yards passing, and he's got some bad-to-the-bone wide receivers. Starts with Chris Brazzell. This guy is elite. His longest reception on the season, 72 yards. The guy behind him, Braylon Staley, longest reception, 73 yards. Mike Matthews, 53 yards. These guys can take the top off of defenses, and when they beat Alabama a few years back, They had Hyatt and all those guys, and how'd they do it? They took the top off of that secondary of Alabama. So come ready to play. I agree with you, Adam. The defense is playing much better. Shut down Ahmad Hardy, nation's leading rusher at the time. A week ago at Missouri, they're going to have their work cut out for them again this week.
I want to go back to your story you were telling us. There were
another Alabama PSA. Let's go.
There were 3 questions, and the final one was how many times you beat Tennessee. You didn't give us that number.
Well, I think the better question would be how many times did I lose to Tennessee? To which then I can just keep my mouth shut.
There we go. There we go. You know what I was getting at, but
how many touchdowns?
Ooh, I'm glad you asked that because I feel like it's going to segue into something we're about to talk about.
Okay, so exactly. So aside from you owning the Vols during your time in Tuscaloosa, give me your best story you've got from Nick Saban during this rivalry.
So I'm going to tell you guys a story, BJ. This is a hell of a story right here. So my senior year as a captain, as a leader of the team, I raised my hand. I admit my guilt. I was late to a meeting, a Friday meeting. A Friday meeting. Laid down, took a nap. Somehow the alarm didn't go off. I showed up late, right? I show up to meetings. Everything's fine. Nobody really says anything. Everybody just tells me to lay low. We go into Saturday, morning before the game. We're in the locker room. Coach Saban walks up to me, and I'm like, ooh, here we go. Here we go. What does he got to say? And he comes up to me, and he's just like very calm, very relaxed. He's like, you know, Damien, I understand that you were late the other day. We're going to have to start Josh. Now, mind y'all, this is Josh Jacobs, first-round draft pick. So, I mean, imagine having, being able to deal with that. But he looks at me and he goes, I'm not suspending you because you were late. I'm suspending you because you couldn't even be accountable and come talk to me and come own up to the fact that you made a mistake. He's like, you're one of our leaders. You're one of our tone setters. How can I not punish you and not make an example out of one of our primary guys for not having accountability, for not taking the time to come and talk to me and admit your guilt and admit that you were wrong? And that was one of the biggest lessons I've taken with me throughout my entire life is about accountability. Nick Saban preached a lot of things. One thing that he said is you can have all the ability in the world. There isn't one single ability that you can have that's more important than accountability. So I was suspended for that game. I took my licks like a man. And I learned from it. Now, to get back to your question, because you want to ask how many touchdowns I scored in this rivalry. Now, I do not know. But what I do know is, in that same game that I was supposed to be suspended for, we ended up beating the brakes off of them so bad. It's the middle of the fourth quarter. Coach Saban looks at me. He's like, all right, man. Go on, get in there, big dog. And you know what? One of those touchdowns that they just showed, maybe the last one, first play I got in the game. It was my only play. He said, you know what? Go on out there. Got me a little tutty. Came back to the bench. We shook hands. We agreed it wouldn't happen again.
But that accountability, that starts with the players. And that's when you know you're cooking with gas, when the players hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
And Coach Saban doesn't have to say anything. But that had to be just so tough for you to show up to that meeting and no one says anything. Because I've been late to a meeting. And no one talks to you. You're the lowest person on the planet.
Hold on, BJ.
You just wish somebody would say something. Hi.
BJ.
Hi.
BJ, I know you've been late to a meeting before. Have you ever been late to a meeting when Nick Saban was talking and walked in the door right in the middle of a Nick Saban pregame speech?
No.
Woo! You don't want to do it.
No,
that don't sound like anything anybody wants to get anywhere close to, but nonetheless, something that will stick with you, I'm sure, for the rest of your life.